Okay, so this is the first video for my channel, and I put together this very short, very brief presentation that is basically going to just be a very much, it's very much so an intro to the concepts of natural law, objective morality, rights, and the law of freedom. Four very important things that need to be common sense knowledge among the people of the world if we want to live in a free world, in a free society. So, let's just jump right into it. So, the title of the presentation I just made, Understanding Natural Law, Objective Morality, Rights, and the Law of Freedom. So what is natural law? So some people may not be really familiar with the term natural law. So here I've listed on this slide some other names that natural law has been referred to as, and is referred to as: karmic law, moral law, the law of attraction, cosmic law, the law of cause and effect, and the law of behavioral consequence. So I'm sure if you are not familiar with the term natural law that you have more than likely heard one of these other 6 names for it at some point in your life. So now that we know what I'm referring to when I say natural law, next thing to do is to define what it actually means. Natural law is the universal law of creation that manifests conditions in the world based off whether the behavior of human beings is moral or not. So, pretty simple, right? It's a universal law. It's an unseen law, too, I should have put in the text. This is why this is in the realm of occult and occult sciences, because all occult means is hidden. And the occult is the study, basically, of the science of unseen laws, the non-physical laws of the universe. So, when I just defined natural law there, it was talking about how natural law is the law in the universe that manifests conditions in the world. So, what condition does humanity desire as a whole, generally speaking? And I would say that what most people want is to live their lives in peace and not be bothered by any external forces or beings. So in other words, what most people desire in life is freedom. So then the question becomes, if what most people want is freedom, then how do we create more freedom in our lives and in the world at large? Well, we create more freedom in the world by understanding natural law and aligning our behaviors with it. Pretty simple. So then the question becomes then, how do we align our behaviors with natural law? Well, it's a very simple answer: by behaving morally. So therefore, the more moral that humanity behaves in the aggregate, the freer we will become. And conversely, the more immoral that humanity behaves in the aggregate, meaning as a whole, involving the whole world, involving everyone, the less free we will become. The law of freedom is what comes up next then. And that's what was being referred to on the previous slide there. Morality and freedom are directly proportional with one another, meaning that as morality increases, freedom then increases in a society, in the world. And thus, as morality decreases, freedom decreases. Very simple. So then we need to talk about what objective morality is. What is it? What is meant by objective morality? Objective morality is the understanding of the objective difference between right and wrong behavior. So then, what is the difference between right and wrong behavior? If understanding objective morality, we have to understand the difference between right and wrong behavior, because by behaving morally, that's how we create more freedom. It's very important that this be common sense knowledge. So, what's the difference between right and wrong behavior? Wrong or immoral behavior is any action that causes harm to another sentient being. Very simple. Therefore, right or moral behavior is any action that does not cause harm to another sentient being. Thus, immoral behaviors are violence. If you are committing an immoral behavior, that means you are committing an act of violence against one of your fellow beings. Now, there are only 7 truly immoral behaviors, meaning there are really only 7 things that are violent behaviors and that are immoral. So, essentially, if in the aggregate, if the vast majority of people avoid partaking in these 7 behaviors, then we would have a much more free society. Not only themselves participating in these actions, but also condoning that other people do these things. So, these 7 immoral behaviors are murder, rape, theft, trespass, assault, coercion, and lying. Very simple. But we can simplify it even more than those 7, because ultimately there is only one immoral behavior, really, if we boil them all down. If we boil the 7 previously mentioned behaviors, if we boil them all down, they are all forms of theft ultimately. So to explain further, murder is the taking of another being's life. You have stolen if you murder someone, you have stolen their life from them. Rape is the taking of another being's free will choice to sexually associate with whom they choose. So, if somebody rapes another person, they have stolen their free will choice to sexually associate with whom they choose. Theft, that one's very simple. It's just that's the taking of another being's property. You've stolen something that belongs to another person. And trespass is the taking of another being's safety in their abode. You've stolen from them their right to security and safety in their own dwelling place where they live. Assault is the taking of another's physical well-being. You have stolen from them their right to be left alone and remain physically unharmed. Coercion is the taking of another being's right to do as they choose. You have stolen that from them if you coerce somebody. You have stolen from them their right to do as they choose, so long as what they're choosing to do isn't causing harm. Well, in that case, it wouldn't be coercion. And lying. Taking of another being's capacity to make informed decisions. Very simple. Very, very simple. You have stolen from them their right and their ability to make informed decisions. So therefore, we can simply say that all forms of violence are acts of theft. So then this leads us into rights. What are our rights as human beings? So by understanding objective morality, we can understand our rights as human beings by extension. Simply put, we have the right to take moral or right actions, and we do not have the right to take immoral or wrong actions. In other words, we do not have the right to cause harm to other sentient beings or support and condone other individuals or institutions and organizations that cause harm to sentient beings. Again, this is very simple. Very, very simple to understand. And as a side note, I wanted to mention, this is why when somebody is trouncing your rights, taking your rights away, telling you don't have the right to do something that you do, they are violating your rights, your natural law rights, because they're committing violence. Notice the similarity in the language there. If you are violating somebody's rights, that means you are committing violence and an act of violence against them. And also, just because we do not have the right to commit acts of theft or violence does not mean we do not have the ability to do so, because obviously we can do immoral things if we so choose, because we have free will, but our actions do not come without consequence. Because if we commit acts of theft or violence, do immoral things, then we will become less free. That is the consequence of violating others' rights, is slavery. So, what is our diagnosis of the world then? After having an understanding now of objective morality, rights, natural law, and the law of freedom, I would say that it is very obvious that most of the world is not living morally and in accordance with natural law. Therefore, we are not free, but enslaved. That's the biggest lie that anyone could be telling themselves nowadays, living anywhere in the world, even America, but especially in other countries, that if you think you're free, you are lying to yourself. America, the home of the land of the free and home of the brave, maybe at one time in history, but not in the lifetime of any human being that is alive and living in America in this day and age. Maybe 250 years ago when the country was founded, maybe then, those were brave men who actually stood up for their rights and fought against tyranny. Yes, back then I would say it was the land of the brave, and the land of the free and the home of the brave. Because they took back their freedom and their rights. Today, people let immoral things happen constantly and let people and institutions run all over their rights and just bow down and bend over and do whatever they're told. Hence all the silly mask wearing that's going on nowadays and social distancing crap, when recently the CDC just updated the numbers and admitted that less than 10,000 people have actually died from the coronavirus in the past, 5 months now? Since March. It's the beginning of September right now. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. This quietly went and updated the numbers and admitted that 94% of people who are reported to have died from coronavirus had as many as 2 or 3 other pre-existing health conditions. And also a vast majority of those people were elderly people. Old people with multiple health conditions. And only less than 10,000 people have actually died from the virus itself. But yeah, we need to all be in a panic and wearing masks and social distancing and closing down small businesses while all the big corporate businesses get to stay open and get bailout money at the same time. Nonsense. So, some people at this point may be wondering how we got to this point of being enslaved. Because a lot of people, at least this was what I thought when I was first understanding these concepts, is when I looked around at the world, I was like, well, I don't see people murdering, raping, thieving, trespassing, assaulting, coercing, and deceiving each other. So how can it be that we're so enslaved right now if immoral behavior is what leads to slavery? And from what I see in my everyday life, I see most people behaving morally, being good people. Because, yeah, and so if this is the case, when we look around at the world and we don't see a lot of people, or most people, behaving immorally, then why, arguably, is humanity more enslaved now than ever? Well, this presentation and this video have gone on long enough, I would say, and that's a concept, or that's going to be the question that I explore in my next video. And yeah, and again, like I said, this is a very, very brief introduction, very low-level, novice-level introduction to this information. It goes much deeper than what I presented here in this video. I'm just trying to kind of whet people's appetite, dip your toes into the water, so to speak. But it's very important that people do further research on their own and go deeply into the knowledge, into their understanding. I will be posting in the description for this video links to other resources, other channels, other researchers, some books that people can check out in order to gain a better understanding of these concepts. And yeah, so it's all about doing the work yourself. I want to stress that. It's all about, no one person can give you all of the answers, all of the information. And even there's more people beyond who there's more resources, far more resources beyond what I'm going to be posting in the description. I'm just going to give you some to go and explore, but, take the time for yourself to seek out more resources, more information. It's about being eclectic and getting information from multiple sources, multiple people. Because, again, you're not going to get all the answers from one person, because it's not possible for one person to have all the answers and all the information. Because no human being is God and has all the truth. There's a lot of people out there who pretty much have got the whole picture and have got a lot of it, but, not everybody has the full picture. It's just not possible. So do your own due diligence, have the willpower to seek out and learn, take time to consider these topics and really deeply study them. Come to a deep understanding of them. Drink deeply of the Pierian Spring, however you pronounce it, like the old quote goes. I believe it's Alexander Pope. Drink deeply of the Pierian Spring. So, yeah. I just really want to stress that. I'm going to stress that in all my videos. Do your own research. Have the willpower to look into things yourself, to understand these concepts. And once you do understand these concepts, then start spreading the information yourself in any way that you can. One-on-one, through social media, through people just face-to-face, any way that you can, and spread this information, because this is the information that will liberate us. This is the information that will free us. This is what it is all about. understanding these concepts in this video. Natural law, rights, objective morality, the law of freedom, they're all interconnected, and understanding all of these things is what will create the world that we say that we truly want. Because like I said, I think if you ask most people will say that they want freedom. That's what most people want. And as I went over in this presentation, behaving according to natural law, aligning our behaviors with natural law by behaving immorally and having that understanding of objective morality so we can behave morally, that is what is going to create more freedom. And until that becomes common sense knowledge and it is taught to everybody, especially taught to the young and to children as they're being raised, then we will continue to get more of what we've always got, which is tyranny and enslavement and violence.